Okay, so let's be real for a sec. There's like a ton of advice out there about goal setting, right?
Right.
You got your SMART goals and vision boards and like a million productivity hacks. It's kind of overwhelming.
Totally. It can feel like information overload.
Yeah, exactly. But today, we're going to try something different. We're taking a deep dive into, well, maybe not what you'd expect.
I'm intrigued. Where are we headed with this?
We're going to the Bible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to explore how this ancient text can offer a fresh perspective on achieving those goals.
That's fascinating. I mean, the Bible, it's often seen as purely religious, right? But it actually holds some really practical wisdom.
Totally. And we got two sources for this deep dive. So one of them breaks down a few like key verses and explains what they mean and how they apply to us, today.
I see. So, like a modern interpretation.
Exactly. And then the other source is like a speed round, 10 more verses, and each one's got a quick summary of its main point.
So, it's like a 1-2 punch of biblical goal setting wisdom.
You got it. Now think of this deep dive as like a way to uncover this unique perspective the Bible brings to goal setting.
I like that. Because, whether you're a devout believer or just curious about different approaches, I think there's really something here for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the cool thing. The Bible doesn't just focus on what you achieve, but it digs into the why and the how.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like those are often overlooked aspects.
Yeah, and trust me, that can be way more insightful than you might think.
It really pushes us to examine our motivations, right? Like, why are we doing this in the first place?
Exactly. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Our first source starts off with Proverbs 16.3, and it says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." We always hear about writing down our goals, like making plans, but this verse adds another dimension to it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's like recognizing that there's a bigger picture. It's not just about our own ambition or willpower. It's about seeking guidance, maybe a higher power, aligning our goals with a purpose beyond just ourselves.
So it's like we're taking that extra step and asking, okay, this is what I want, but does it actually like fit into, I don't know, maybe a greater plan?
Exactly. And our source goes deeper into this, suggesting practical things like prayer, seeking wisdom from, well, sources beyond ourselves, and honestly trying to figure out what that greater purpose might actually look like.
It's almost like a dose of humility and goal setting. Like, hey, we don't actually have all the answers.
That's a good point.
All right, next verse, Proverbs 16.9. This one's kind of tricky. It says, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." So wait, which one is it? Do we actually plan, or are we just following like a path that's already set?
That's a great question. And it really points to this tension, that tension between our desire to control everything and the reality that, well, we can't actually predict everything. This verse, I think, encourages us to be flexible with our plans, be open to those detours, and maybe even reframe those unexpected turns as opportunities.
Oh, that totally resonates with me. I mean, how many times have you thought you had it all figured out and then suddenly, bam, life throws a curveball and you end up somewhere like completely different?
Right. It happens all the time.
But it often ends up better, don't you think?
Often, yeah. And I think that's where this concept of surrender comes in. Not surrender in the sense of giving up, but surrendering to this idea that maybe there's, a greater wisdom out there guiding us towards something even better.
Okay, I like that. Surrender to something bigger.
Uh,
Now, onto a topic we can all relate to, diligence and patience. Proverbs 12.5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." So, first glance, pretty straightforward. Work hard, be patient, right. But is there more to it than just like grinding away?
I think there's definitely a nuance here. It's not just about like brute force effort, it's about being strategic, being thoughtful in our actions, and yes, being patient. Because lasting success takes time and it takes that consistent effort. It's like, building a house. You got to have that solid foundation before you can add all the fancy stuff.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's so true. And it actually reminds me of something our source pointed out. Breaking down those really big, like massive goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Yeah.
Because we've all felt that overwhelm when a goal just feels too big to even start, right?
Oh, absolutely. This verse encourages us to find that balance, between that grand vision and those like practical steps to actually get there. Consistently moving forward, celebrating those smaller wins, and not getting bogged down by the enormity of it all.
So it's like, okay, instead of feeling paralyzed by this huge goal, we find momentum through those consistent actions. Like, what's one small thing I can do today to get a little closer to where I want to be?
Exactly. Love that.
Okay, Let's look at this verse. It seems super simple. Habakkuk 2.2. It says, "Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it." So basically just write it down. But, like, is that really all there is to it?
I think it's a little more than meets the eye. When you write something down, it forces you to clarify those thoughts. It helps you really internalize what those goals are. They become more real, you know?
It's true. It's like you're taking something vague, something that's just in your head, and you're turning it into something that you can see and interact with.
Exactly. It's almost like you're making a contract with yourself, which can be really powerful in terms of commitment and accountability.
It makes you think about how we approach goal setting ourselves. Like, do we actually write things down?
Yeah.
What's your experience with that? Because I know for me, I'm way more likely to actually do something if I've like really taken the time to write it out.
Oh, me too. There's something about that physical act of writing that just helps it stick, you know? It's a commitment.
It is. It is. Okay, now let's look at a verse that kind of gets to the why behind our goals. Colossians 3.23-24 tells us to work at everything as working for the Lord, not for human masters. So seems to suggest that our motivation should go beyond just personal gain, right?
Yeah, it's like it's asking us to connect our efforts to something bigger, you know? A higher purpose. It's like, how can my work serve something beyond myself? How can it contribute to something greater than just my own advancement?
Right. And it's so relevant today. You know, everyone's talking about purpose-driven work, and this like ancient wisdom is totally in line with that.
Totally. It speaks to that deep need we all have, you know, that need to find meaning in what we do, to feel like our work matters.
Okay, get ready. Speed round time. Our second source is like a rapid-fire list of 10 verses, each with a little nugget of wisdom on goal setting. Are you ready?
Bring it on. I'm ready for those nuggets.
Okay, let's start with Proverbs 13.4. It says, "The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied."
Ooh, okay. So this one echoes that idea of diligence we were talking about earlier, right? That contrast between the person who just wants things but doesn't put in the effort versus the person who, you know, really hustles and makes things happen.
Totally. But I feel like it also hints at something deeper, like this idea that action is actually necessary. You can't just reach for things.
Right. It's like you got to bridge that gap between desire and action. You have to actually do something.
Okay, what's next in our wisdom sprint?
Okay, this one's pretty powerful. Ecclesiastes 9.10, it says, "Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working nor planning, nor knowledge nor wisdom."
Whoa, okay. That is a reminder of our limited time, huh? Like, you got to live with intention and make each moment count.
Exactly. It encourages us to be fully present in what we're doing. Don't just go through the motions, you
Yeah.
know, like really make it count.
Don't wait for someday, right? Just go for it now.
Ex-
Okay, let's get a little practical. Luke 14.2830. This one uses the analogy of building a tower, I think.
yeah. It's all about planning and resources. Like before you take on a big goal, it's saying you should like count the cost. Do you have what it takes to see it through? The resources, the time, the commitment. Be realistic.
So, like, make sure you've got a solid plan before you just, like, jump into that dream project.
A blueprint. Exactly.
Okay, so we've been focused on individual effort, but our first source kept talking about seeking advice from others. And it reminds me of that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. And our source emphasizes that, you know, surround yourself with people who can offer support, challenge you, and provide different perspectives.
Exactly. Because we don't have all the answers. And getting that wise counsel can save so much time and energy
Yeah.
and maybe heartache later on.
It's like you got to have humility. We can learn and grow from others.
Totally. And speaking of learning and growing, our source also talked about celebrating progress, which is something I think we all forget to do. Like, it's so easy to get caught up in the grind, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. We're always focused on what's next, what still needs to be done. But taking the time to celebrate, even the small stuff, it's huge for motivation.
It's like those checkpoints in a marathon. Like, hey, you're doing great. Keep going.
Yes, a little boost.
Okay, wow. That was a whirlwind tour of some powerful stuff from the Bible. What stood out to you so far?
You know, it's really striking how much these ancient principles actually resonate with, you know, how we approach goals today. They're so relevant.
It is pretty amazing, right? These timeless truths. So, you know, whether you're coming at this from like a spiritual angle or just looking for practical wisdom, I think these ideas can really resonate with anyone. Now, one question that keeps popping into my head is if, like Colossians 3.23-24 suggests, all our work is ultimately, you know, unto the Lord, How does that actually change what we think of as success and failure?
Ooh, that's a big question. It makes you think about what you're actually measuring, right? If your ultimate goal is to serve something greater, then maybe success isn't just about those external achievements, but about, I don't know, maybe aligning your actions with your values and like striving to make a positive impact, regardless of the results.
It's like instead of asking, what did I achieve?
Mhm.
We ask, how did I contribute?
Right. It's about finding that fulfillment in the effort itself, in the dedication, the integrity you go to what you do.
That's a powerful thought. It's like our goals aren't just these personal things, but they become opportunities to contribute to something way bigger.
It's a different way of looking at things.
Okay, I'm ready for more verses if you are.
Let's do it. Let's keep going. Yeah, it's a shift in perspective for sure.
Okay, so you ready to keep sprinting through these verses?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, what's up next?
Okay, how about 1 Corinthians 9:24-27? This one uses the analogy of an athlete, which I always love, to illustrate the kind of discipline and focus it takes to like really achieve something great.
Ooh, a sports metaphor. Okay, I'm in. What's the takeaway there?
It's highlighting that we need training, self-control, perseverance. Just like an athlete trains super hard for a competition, we need to approach our goals with the same dedication and discipline,
Hmm.
like being intentional and consistent with our efforts.
So it's not just about those like bursts of energy here and there. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, even when it's like not fun or glamorous.
Exactly. It's about that clear vision, and then putting in the work to get there.
Okay, what else is on our rapid fire list here?
All right, let's look at Philippians 3:1-3:14. This one's all about looking ahead, forgetting what's behind us. It says, "But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus."
It's like, okay, let go of those past mistakes, those setbacks, and keep your eyes on the prize.
Right. Embrace that growth mindset.
Totally. Like we're always learning, always growing, even when we, stumble a bit. Yeah.
Exactly. Growth isn't always linear, is it? There will be setbacks, but it's learning from them and moving forward. That's what matters.
It's like that saying, fall 7 times, stand up 8.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, what's the final verse on our wisdom tour here?
Last stop is 1 Timothy 6:18-19. This one reminds us that our goal shouldn't just be about, money or possessions, but about doing good, using what we have to help others.
Yeah, it's like true wealth is about generosity, right? Making a positive impact on the world.
Totally. Using our talents, using our resources to make a difference, to leave things better than we found them.
And this, again, it circles back to aligning our goals with something bigger than ourselves.
Sure.
It's not just about personal gain, but about how we can, contribute.
It's like a ripple effect. Our actions, even the little ones, they can make a difference and create like a chain reaction of good.
Oh, I like that. A chain reaction. It makes me think about that advice from our first source about seeking counsel, asking for advice. I feel like that's especially important when we're trying to connect our goals to a larger purpose. Sometimes we need that outside perspective.
Oh, totally. We can't see everything ourselves. It doesn't matter if it's mentors, friends, family, even a coach or therapist. Having people who can give you honest feedback, guidance, that's so valuable.
So true. And we can't forget about celebrating progress. It's
Mhm.
so easy to get caught up in chasing the next milestone that we forget to just enjoy the journey and, acknowledge how far we've come.
Oh, you're so right. Celebrating those wins, big or small, it helps us stay on track, keeps the momentum going, and, it prevents burnout.
It's like give yourself permission to enjoy the process, not just the end result. Okay, wow, we have covered so much ground today. We explored how the Bible views goal setting, that whole idea of seeking guidance, aligning with a bigger purpose, working with diligence and patience, getting wisdom from others. It's pretty inspiring, right?
It is. And you know what? Even if someone isn't, religious, these principles are so relatable, so relevant. It's like they tap into this human desire to live a meaningful life.
I love that. It's about more than just, checking things off a list. So as we kind of start wrapping up this deep dive, what would you say is the main thing you hope our listener walks away with today?
I think it's that, our goals, they can be so much more than just like those personal achievements. It's about connecting to something bigger, making a difference, living a life with meaning.
I love that. And it's amazing how accessible all of this is, right?
Hmm.
Like you don't have to be, super religious or anything to find value in these ideas.
Exactly. Whether you see it through a spiritual lens or just as like good advice for living a good life, it just makes sense, human stuff.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so we're wrapping up our deep dive into goal setting, like the Bible style. Any practical tips for our listeners? How can they actually use this stuff in their own lives?
Well, I think a good place to start is asking yourself, why? Like, why am I even going after this goal? What's the real motivation here? Is it, ego? Or is there something deeper, like a desire to actually make a difference?
Oh, I like that. Like checking in with yourself,
Yeah,
making sure those goals actually line up with what you believe in and the kind of life you want to live.
exactly. And remember that thing about asking for advice, finding those people you trust? Yeah, it's important. Don't try to do everything solo. Sometimes that outside perspective can really help us, see things more clearly, make better choices.
Totally. Like having your own personal cheer squad and wise counsel all rolled into one. And let's not forget about celebrating those wins along the way.
Oh, that's so important. We're always focused on the next thing,
Mm.
but taking time to actually celebrate even the little stuff, it's huge for motivation.
Yeah,
It helps us stay positive and avoid burnout.
it's like giving yourself permission to actually enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Right.
Right. Okay, so big picture, what have we learned? We learned the Bible has some pretty unique things to say about goal setting, like seeking guidance, aligning our goals with something bigger, working hard but being patient, asking for advice, and celebrating progress.
And the best part is this stuff's timeless. You can apply it anywhere. Your career, your relationships, your personal growth, even like how you contribute to the world is pretty powerful.
It really is. So, as we finish up, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. If all our work is, like the Bible says, unto the Lord, or as we talked about, in service to something greater, maybe success isn't just about what we accomplish, but about who we become along the way.
Maybe it's about those qualities we develop, the challenges we overcome, how we impact others, living a life that's, full of purpose and passion and meaning.
That's a beautiful thought. And on that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive into goal setting, the Bible edition. Hope you found some new ideas, some inspiration. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep chasing those goals that, really light you up. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive